stuck in that place. And even the word stuck is becoming ubiquitous. Like, what does it mean anymore? But we get into a place where we find it so frightening to let go of what doesn't work anymore. And we've just gone through almost 3 years where things are no longer the same, yet people are trying to make them the same.
Cue music. Places, everybody places. We're starting in 3, 2.
Welcome to the Autoimmune Hour, where we look at the rise of autoimmune disorders. I've brought together top experts that range from doctors, specialists, nutritionists, researchers, and even those recovering from autoimmune to bring you the latest, most up-to-date information about autoimmunity and how to live your life uninterrupted.
Thank you for joining us here on the Autoimmune Hour with Sharon Sayler. Always seek sound legal, medical, and or professional advice regarding any problems, conditions, and any of the recommendations you see, hear, or read here on the Autoimmune Hour, Understanding Autoimmune, and Life Interrupted Radio. Join the Autoimmune Hour's Courage Club. Sign up now at understandingautoimmune.com. Now, back to your host, Sharon Sayler.
Welcome, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour. I'm Sharon Sayler from SharonSayler.com, and as always, it's my honor and pleasure to be with you here on another brand new episode. I don't know whether it's the end of the year or I just feel like finally we're coming out of 3 years of whatever that was. I don't know what it is, but I've had a wonderful time lately. If you've been listening to the show off and on the past few weeks, reconnecting with old friends. And whether it's via Zoom, like our show is recorded on, or something else, it's been really wonderful to reconnect with old friends. And I saw on social media that my dear friend Pamela Sylvan, you'll remember her, she's been on the show several times, she was doing something new and fun. And I'll let you tell them what it was. But, it was so cool. I was thinking, wow, that sounds like something I'd love to do. And the other thing I thought about it is like, she's out there doing it, whether she's doing it with a group or by herself, she's just out there finding life again. So I really wanted to talk to her about a couple of things. One is the idea of resilience, what we've been through. This lady, let me tell you a little bit about her bio. Her name's Pamela Sylvan, and we know her as the Mojomaker. And she is an absolutely multi-faceted entrepreneur. She's an executive mentor. She's a TV show host. And she now has the title of Weekend Nomad. Every weekend she's doing wonderful things like going and seeing amazing sunsets and whatever strikes her fancy. So I just think that's so wonderful, and she's just reigniting so much that is passionate in her. I think all of us could use a little reigniting as well. So thanks for being on the show, Pamela.
Oh, thank you, Sharon, for inviting me. I love coming here and spending time with you and your audience. It's always a treat for me. So thank you.
It's so good to see you. And when I was reading on Facebook about, I'll say, this new thing you've jumped into, being a weekend nomad, I was like, that sounds like fun. And some of the pictures you're sending, awesome.
It's an amazing lifestyle. It's this new trend that you will probably see on YouTube and Instagram called van life lifestyle, or van lifing, I like to call it. And it's not new. I mean, human beings have been nomading for thousands of years. Because of our technology, we can see people doing it. Now, there are a lot of people who are in this van life lifestyle because they have no choice based on for financial reasons or setbacks. I'm doing it because it's a way for me to connect to great open spaces on the weekend, so I can connect to expansion and feel free and play. And I'll talk more about playfulness as we go on in this hour. But to me, I feel as if it's the first time in my life, Sharon, that I'm actually able to play.
Oh, well, bravo. And if you guys don't know her story, I don't remember how long ago it was, but it was a while ago. This woman, she packed up her old life and in a couple of suitcases, trekked across Canada and started over again. So to me, she's just, when I read about her adventures, to me, I just admire her spirit of adventure and let's go for it kind of attitude.
Oh my goodness, this weekend I was climbing through these little tight spaces to go down into caves up island. It was crazy. And I'm claustrophobic.
Wow. That was the first thing that went through my mind is I'm claustrophobic. I would. Well, that's really cool, though. I mean, that to me jumps out of resilience into bravery and willpower somewhere along the lines of that.
And I'll probably a whole other words, Sharon, that we may not want to use.
Well, I guess we could, but I think anybody that can push past their comfort zones, that's so important. And the older I get, the more I'm like, you know what? Why am I staying here at the edge of my comfort zone? And I know you and I have chatted before. We know all of us, we only have so many days. So why are we being stuck in a comfort zone?
But it's habitual, Sharon. We live our lives in a bubble of safety and ease and security as much as we possibly can. As the minute we leave our school or our education, our whole thought process is how can we acquire a type of life that ensures that we are safe and secure. It's part of our DNA. We are prone to look for safety. There's nothing wrong with it, but it becomes an issue for us as when it becomes something that keeps us in place. And we may have dreams and we might want to go on adventure, but we can't get ourselves to do it. We might want to make change. Maybe we want to leave our job or find a new relationship or lose weight or whatever it is, but we are so stuck in that place. And the word stuck is becoming ubiquitous. Like, what does it mean anymore? But we get into a place where we find it so frightening to let go of what doesn't work anymore. And we've just gone through almost 3 years where things are no longer the same, yet people are trying to make them the same and keep them the same, but they don't work anymore. These processes and systems don't work anymore. Now is the time to recreate. Now is the time to try different things. For me, it's going out on the weekends in this amazing van and going through the Rocky Mountains and sleeping next to lakes and hiking up places and down into caverns and things like that. And then come back to the van, have lunch, and pull out my computer and do a little bit of work. I mean, to me, I would never have thought this 6 months, 12 months, 5 years ago. That would have been so foreign to me to think that. My whole prescription for life was do what I was told to do what I learned to do what I grew up doing. You got your education, you got your job, and you do what everybody else is doing. And then we grumble about our life, yet we won't let go. We watch other people do it. The people we admire most are the people doing what we're too afraid to do.
Yes, absolutely. I hadn't thought about that, but yes, it is interesting that wow.
We are not hailing the people that are safe and secure, swaddled up in cotton in front of their TV. We are not hailing those people.
Definitely. But a lot of us, I think, especially at the beginning of the pandemic, I know I developed new habits. I was a much bigger risk taker I was back then. And then all of a sudden, okay, I am swaddling up in front of a streaming service here. And it's true. It developed a new habit, and it's not a habit that I'm real happy about. So when I've been seeing you on social media going, I got to talk to this girl.
Yeah, well, it takes conscious attention and conscious effort to see yourself doing these things and asking pertinent questions. Is this how I want to live the rest of my life? We talked about this on a couple of your shows where I'm getting to the 60s now. And I will only have a certain amount of energy going forward. It's going to start diminishing. So do I want to wait till I can no longer get up and walk through my own agency, or am I going to do something with what I have right now? It's not going to get better if people are waiting for that day.
I had a family member recently. She passed away in her early 100s. She was like that. When she retired right about 60, if I remember correctly, she went and she saw every continent in the world. And I remember she took along someone who was like 5 years younger than her on a trip to Patagonia and the Antarctic. And we're like, okay, go for it. And she comes back and she's like, well, I'm not doing that again. And we said, why? She said, because this younger person didn't have the energy to keep up with her. We were all cheering her on. It was so cool that she'd always loved travel and she had read about all of these different places and unfortunately had to slow down as she got into her hundreds. She did slow down a little bit, but she was able to go see all of the continents and every place she wanted to see. I just thought that was cool.
I mean, that's totally fabulous. Her mindset is golden, truly, because to her point, it's not even about the age, it's about one's willingness to keep up with what's going on around you. To me, we have one shot at this. We talk about resiliency, get oneself to a place where, okay, this is it. This is not a dress rehearsal for life, because once it's over, there are no do-overs. This is it. So what can I do with the energy I have now? What can I do with the finances I have now? What can I do right now? Maybe I can't get to Patagonia, or maybe I don't want to go to Patagonia. Maybe I just want to go see the mountains, the Rocky Mountains. I've never done that. Oh my gosh. Talk about changing one's perspective, because seeing these gigantic monoliths, you just see how tiny you are on this planet and how minuscule your issues are, even one's health. To me, what's out there in nature is breathing new life and energy into me. I've been forest bathing.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. I wanted to circle back, though, for a quick little comment. Oftentimes, I remember back when I was first diagnosed, I thought my life was over. Yet, part of me refused to accept what they were saying. And I'm glad that part won, because in a way, I feel like I did get a do-over, Pamela. I made a lot of different decisions as I regained my health, as I found new ways of being with what was, and moving past and through, and what I call thriving now. It feel like, wow, that in an odd way, I look at making meaning of it, and it really was a do-over.
Well, it is about changing the meaning around things. I mean, we are even commanded to be reborn again. And the rebirth is about our mind, changing our mind. What thoughts are you having that is keeping you in place, stuck and disgusted with your life? I call it broke, busted, and disgusted. What mindset are you contemplating? And in order to move to the next place or spiral up to a new way of being and set of experience and so forth, one needs to birth themselves to that new place. And it's not always easy. I'm not advocating that this is some sort of walk in the park after one shower on a Sunday afternoon. It takes conscious effort to do it, and you might be able to do it on your own. You might need the help of another person's energy or conversation or an accountability partner or what have you, but it's doable. There's so many people around us doing this, so many women who are now in their 50s, 60s and beyond, who are doing fabulous things, either travel, starting new businesses, getting into the best shape and health of their life, getting remarried. There's just so many things that are possible. The reason that it may not be possible for someone is one of two things. They don't want to, they can't imagine it, or they do have some type of debilitating physical ailment that keeps them in a certain place. And I totally understand that not everybody has the capacity to make these transformative things, but the majority of people absolutely do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've even seen and had some guests on who I would say, wow, I know they're going through, and yet some of the decisions they make are so transformative in other ways. Mm-hmm. And a guest, she was on a while ago, but what she did was, unable to type or write a book, she dictated a book and then had someone edit and clean it up for her. And I thought, wow, she wanted to get her story out. And I'm thinking, she didn't let it stop her, that she couldn't just sit down with her computer and type out her story. Bravo for her. I was so happy when she told me that a book was coming out.
Well, you see, that's the whole point. It's what is stopping you? If you had to ask yourself, if there's something you wanted to do, what is the block? Write it down. And so at least it's outside of your head, because when we keep things inside our head, it just sort of swims around there, and it really creates this illusion that we cannot move forward. So put it on paper and take a look at it and say, is it true? Is that true? Is this thing that I've been imagining as to why I can't do this or I can't do that, is it true? Let's say it's true. This is a feasible thing that is in your way. All right. So the next thing to ask is, what are the 10 ways that I can resolve this issue? Some of it may be true nonsense or funny or ridiculous or silly or illegal or whatever this thing is. But at least you're making the conscious effort to have some fun with it, to sort of start loosening it up around the edges so the edges start to crumble. And once you put the energy of your mind towards the solution, when you're washing dishes or when you're having a nap or when you're meditating or walking the dog, boom, the answer falls into your head.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or somebody else might say something that is the exact thing you need to resolve the issue.
It's so funny you say that. I was just going to mention a friend of mine from years ago. I was stuck in a work situation. I thought in my mind I was stuck, and I decided to go learn to shoot skeet. Clay pigeons. I mean, that was out of my comfort zone. So let's go learn how to shoot clay pigeons. And one of the instructors had this saying, and it wasn't just to me, but it's one of those times where you hear something in passing and they meant it for you, but they just didn't want to slap you in the face with it. He used to have this saying constantly, was like, if you're not stepping outside your comfort zone, you're taking up too much space.
That's right. That's absolutely right. But here's another way to look at this. Any discomfort or disease that we have is our opportunity to trigger our power. It's not for us to say, ain't it awful? A lot of people think that any problem is their way of sliding into victimhood, and it ain't it awful. They get a whole club together, call it the Ain't It Awful group, and they all pour in this energy of why it's such a terrible thing. But in reality, it's given to you so you can trigger the energy of that power that you have for healing, for solution-based possibility thinking, all of it. Those that rise up from the ashes of their life are those that trigger that energy.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing I so love and admire about you, Pamela, is that every time I have a moment to chat with you, you're either doing it yourself or helping someone along that road. And that's what I so admire you, is helping people rise up from their ashes. It's just amazing. We need to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk more with Pamela about this, because I think it's really important. And it's not just about recreating our life. It's when we've got a diagnosis, it's really easy to listen to the naysayers. So we'll be right back.
Life Interrupted Radio will return after these messages from our sponsors. It's great sponsors like these that keep this show coming to you every week. Be sure and stop by lifeinterruptedradio.com to learn more.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
If you're worried your friend may be struggling, remember, you don't have to be there to be there.
You can say, how are you, or get a fake tattoo. You can ask with an app if it works for you. You could chat on the game, kick off your flip-flops. You can ask on your couch while you binge watch. Whatever gets you talking.
Reach out to a friend about their mental health. Learn how you can help at seizetheawkward.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and the JED Foundation.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Listen and imagine. It takes 5 seconds to send a text, and for those 5 seconds, you're driving blind. Life is worth more than a text. Stay alive. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Sharon, and of course you know me from here on the Autoimmune Hour. Maybe you don't know I'm also an author. My latest book is for kids. It's Pinky Chenille and the Rainbow Hunters, a winner of a 5-star Reader's Favorite review. It's perfect for your early reader and a great bedtime story for your young adventurers. Check it out over at pinkychenille.com. That's PinkyChenille.com. See you there. Welcome back, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour. I'm Sharon Sayler from SharonSayler.com, and you can find all our previous episodes over at understandingautoimmune.com. And today, on Lucky 404th episode, I've got my dear friend Pamela Sylvan on it, and we call her the Mojomaker. And as you've heard, she's just an amazing woman, and she's once again reigniting her life and reinventing her life as we all come out of this, almost 3-year hiatus or whatever this has been. And she is just always turning her experience into wisdom. And I love that because she's willing to share that wisdom, that hard-earned wisdom, for us to get engaged with our life and help us be empowered. And so, you know, Pamela, this has just been so intriguing to me, where we've gone so far. One of the things I wanted to talk about, though, is a lot of women would, I'm going to just say this like, yeah, but I've got other people making decisions. I've got family, I've got a spouse, I've got an aging parent, something like that. So I'm hearing a lot of like sort of, Pamela, that sounds great. Yeah, but what is your comment about those sorts of?
Yes, the yeah buts are a very debilitating energy, and it's prevalent. And we've all passed through at some point. I used to have this knee-jerk reaction in my younger days. Someone would say something to me that would be very beneficial to me, and then I would immediately preface that with "yeah, but," right?
Exactly.
Because I refuse to see the possibilities. So I had to train myself to at least give it a moment before I responded. Like, make some space in there.
Oh, great idea.
Right?
Breathe.
So it's not just an immediate tag on to what anybody had to say. Like, give it a moment and think and breathe. And if it's still yeah, but, okay, honestly say yeah, but, and if it's not, just leave it. To your question, Sharon, yes, there are a million reasons why we can't, won't, or shouldn't do something. For instance, I used one on my Facebook post the other day. I go camping every weekend. I leave Friday, I come back Sunday, perhaps Monday if I can swing it. And this weekend, forecast said cold and raining. So when I told people, I was going, oh, it's cold, oh, it's raining. And my response to that is, but it's always going to be cold and raining at some point for everybody. So what am I going to do with that information? I'm still going to choose what I want to do and go. Let me tell you, on the way there, bright blue sky.
Wow.
The whole weekend, bright blue sky. So if I had listened to the good opinion of others, I would have stayed home and missed the whole thing.
The learned opinion of the weather forecast.
That's right. I would have missed the whole thing. For people who say they can't change their life because they are responsible for others or their own health is keeping them in place, I say, okay, the reality exists. Absolutely. They're absolutely right. How else can they view this? How else can they loosen up space for themselves? You do not have to do what I do. There are people that are able to do full-time van lifing. I can't do that just yet. There are other things that are on my plate that I can only do on the weekend. Well, good for you, Pamela, but I still have little kids, or I have a husband who's ailing, or my mother or my father needs me on the weekends. And I say, absolutely, you're right. Can you still find an hour? Can you find half a day? I don't get on airplanes or go off to the Grand Canyon. I'm here on Vancouver Island in British Columbia, Canada. Less than 2 hours from my doorstep are the most amazing views I've ever seen.
Oh, absolutely. You live in gorgeous country. You do.
And I bet most people that live in the city here have yet to see it.
Which is so sad. So sad.
And you know why that is, Sharon? Because in people's minds, they blow up how it's supposed to happen or how it's supposed to get done. The most freeing thing that ever happened to me was years ago. I have a younger brother who is a world traveler. And at one point I said to him, Ed, how are you always going to these fabulous far off destinations? How do you do that? And he says, I have the secret, lean in. So I'm all, excited. He's going to tell me how he gets this done, right? Because I'm thinking price, expense, all of it. He says, you call the travel agency and you book the flight. Now, in that moment, I hated him but what he had done was clearly stated it's a 1, 2, 3 process. There's no mystery or secret to doing certain things. We make things more difficult than we have to. If you don't know how to do something, research it. Ask somebody or research someone who is doing it. Ask how they got themselves there. I'm a woman of color, for those that can't see me. I am the only person that looks like me when I'm out there.
Wow.
Right?
Oh.
There is no other woman of color that I see van lifing out there at all. Now, that could stop me from fear. Ooh, what am I going to do out there by someone like me? To me, that has no place in my thinking, because then I would have missed half the things that I saw in the last 6 months. So whatever you can do, do it. You might not be able to do everything for those listening or for that person who needs to hear this. If you have a parent that you are responsible for, write down who else can watch that person for you on your behalf for 48 to 72 hours. There must be a way for someone to relieve you for 48 to 72 hours. If you do not have someone that can relieve you for 72 hours, you're dealing in chronic stress right now.
Right. That went through my mind.
Because that's a full-time situation, right? Whether you take that time off and you go to the movies or you go visit the mountains, you need time off anyway. So that's a situation to dive into. Maybe your health doesn't allow you to get up and go somewhere for whatever reason. There are other things you can do. Like I said, write down the solution. If someone came to you with this problem and it was outside of you, it wasn't your problem. You know how we're able to solve other people's problems like that, right?
But I think that's because I'm not emotionally tied to the outcome.
Hey, and that's it. So we have to separate it out. That's why writing it down allows us to move it outside of ourselves so we can see it. It's just a thing. The reason we run into problems is the meaning that we give things. Everything is static. We change it by flowing our emotions and our perspective into it, and it changes.
Yeah.
Right? It's not good or bad. It's what it is. I have an issue. I was diagnosed with hypertension. Most people I told about this thought I was going to die in the next day based on the numbers. And I could have had a massive stroke or a heart attack based on what was going on. I said, you know what I said to myself? Oh, life is knocking on me to change something. Let me take a minute, figure out what that is and what I need to do. And whatever it is that I came up with, I followed through on that. It didn't matter that I had to leave this behind. I stopped my whole business for 6 months. People were, oh, how are you going to make money? Money is no good to me if I'm dead.
Excellent point. Excellent point.
We worry about things we have well, Pam, no, money is no good to me if I'm dead.
Wow. Excellent point.
Okay.
Wow.
So we have to learn to let go. We're holding on too tight to our reasons. I don't want to use the word excuses because I know there are people that have real things that they have to handle. But even those, we can loosen the grip on some of those things because there are actual people on this planet that have no arms or legs and are doing amazing things.
It's interesting when you talked about this idea of going through it and looking at that perspective that, well, if I don't, if I don't get through this, what's the point? And to me, I was thinking about my diagnosis, and recently I've had a major breakthrough towards my health as well. Found the right set of things that all of a sudden I started this protocol, and amazing things happened within 72 hours. I was stunned and shocked. And I was sitting with a dear friend, and I said, I was sort of lamenting in a way, wow, I wish I'd found this sooner. And my friend said, you probably weren't ready yet. And I, at first, was a little like, the indignant 5-year-old. But now that I've had time to think about it, probably right. Because what I did learn, a lot of self-reliance. When I first got my diagnosis, as you know, I was really sick. And I learned to keep on going. If that protocol didn't work for me, I was going to go find another one that did. And I just kept going from here to there, looking for the right protocol. And many people said to me, accept it, just settle down, put your feet up, accept it, all sorts of things like that. And sometimes it was really hard to walk past that when people that you love, and sometimes I was thinking it was coming from love. They would see me in such pain or whatever, and they just go, just put your feet up and accept it. I know that's part of why our friendship is this idea of, no.
No, things will come your way all the time. I mean, there's always going to be something. You solve one thing, another one comes flying your way. It's like dodgeball. You're dodging, always dodging something coming your way. Your job is to decide what it is that you're going to actually play with. Do I want to play with impending doom and gloom? Or am I planning on rising myself up from this thing? My leg may never heal. That's a possibility. Whatever afflicts you may never go away. But who are you in that affliction? Because somebody else is watching you. Are you showing people that the only way that to deal with this problem is to accept it and flow out of existence? That's how you handle this.
I want to circle back. You said the word play. I love the word play. And so often when I'm working with my clients and I get some resistance, I'll say, just play with it.
Yes.
Just play with the idea. Just play with the idea. Let's talk about, you define your version of what is play when you tell your clients play.
Play. Play is when I give myself permission to be and do me without thought of consequence in the moment. Now, when I say consequence, it's no reason to be concerned. I'm not doing anything that's harmful to me or anybody else.
Yes, you're not surfing on the top of buses or anything.
No, not yet. I've grown up as a hyper vigilant individual and hyper cautious, and it was just part of my upbringing. I was the eldest of 3, and my parents were always fighting, so I took control. I grew up before my time, and I didn't have time as a child to enjoy being young. So now that I'm at this age in my life where I'm choosing to be free of concern in a short period of time, from Friday to Sunday at a certain time. It doesn't matter who's falling apart, what's falling apart. And some of the places I go, you can't get internet service or anything. Your phone's out of service. So if the Victoria disappeared while I was away, I wouldn't know. Until I got back and say, hey, what happened to Victoria?
You know what's so funny, Pamela? I was talking to a friend the other day about that because they're both up there my age as well. And I was thinking, here we are with a phone in our hand as we're driving down the street and worried about every little click of a text that we can't look at because we're driving. What happened when I was growing up and there was one phone in the house and no voicemail?
Yeah. And somehow we all survived this. I see people who are so, their phone is contingent on their whole life. Like, are you running the country? Like, are you the president, prime minister, whatever it is? Like, do you need to have that phone because your sense of importance is so inflated? But that's another conversation. I can go on about that. That's another conversation. But the conversation that we're having today about playfulness is allowing yourself to step down from that place of always being on.
Yeah.
When my time to leave the city hits and I hit the border of the city limits, you can feel it coming off my shoulders. And I stop in so many different places, and I have a treat, and I stop over here to see this thing, and I'm buying stickers at all the different places, and I'm just playing, because to me, this is what part of life is. For anybody who has ever taken a spiritual journey, or has read great spiritual literature or any of it, there's a piece in there that talks about flow. It talks about having to be like little children, to be open and free and accepting and receiving the gifts of life. We're so busy holding on and worrying, as if we think that our worry and our force of will is going to change anything. All it does is take away more of your life force.
Yeah.
And that's what I was doing to myself. When I was in the hospital, I recognized it in an instant, and I said, and I spoke to, I guess, God, if you want. And I said, if you allow me to leave, I understand the problem. If you allow me to leave, I will make the changes. And I left.
And followed through.
And oh yeah.
Well, I've seen some people I've met before, who are doing the same sort of like speaking to the universe, and then they leave and they forget that there was that bargain. I just shake my head sometimes.
Well, you know what? We all bargain in that moment, right? That critical moment. Please God, please God, please God. And now I had a moment like that too. And I remember doing all of this vowing, and I vow and I vow. And then, it's like, once it's the critical moment is over, it's like, geez, was I just being dramatic? Maybe I'll just make it work somehow, or maybe I'll figure something out. And then I went home, and I had this fish called Blue that was supposed to have died a long time ago, but it was still alive. And when I went home, the fish was dead. And I thought, there is the sign for me to pay attention. If I don't follow through and look after myself, I too shall go the way of this fish. So I followed through on my vow. And I always remember that fish moment.
And I think that's the important thing, is finding those connections. And some people would listen to that story and like, that's not true. It was just a old dead fish.
And yes, it's an old dead fish I threw in the toilet bowl, but here's the point. It happened in the moment that I was supposed to see and give meaning to that. Whether or not the fish up and died because it was mysteriously somehow divinely divine to do it, it's immaterial.
Exactly.
It's what I changed the moment into to serve my purpose, to follow my vow to life.
Wow. Fantastic. Let's talk a little bit about these vows. And do you have like well, maybe formula is not the right word. I know in those moments of great stress, or those moments where great courage is called upon, I've been known to vow. What are some of the ways that you keep moving forward all the time and keep yourself growing and renewing? Is that based on some of these vows?
It's based on vows, but it's also based on the conversation that I continually have with myself. I've learned to lay down new neural pathways for myself. I just segued into neuroscience when I said that. But we are all programmed, whether you believe it or not. We all have our thinking that was given to us by somebody else. And that's fine. We modeled our handlers, our parents, and our family tribes. And that's how we learn. That's how we grow. Now, some people then move on to find out their own perspectives in life through research, experience, education, and so forth. And some people don't deviate from the initial program. I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's just what is. My initial program from birth to whenever I changed it was full of fear.
Yeah.
And that's how I approached life and I saw life. And it was diminishing my life force. I had to figure that out and find a new script to give myself. So I learned to speak to myself in a certain way, and I programmed certain things. When I meet up in a resistive situation or circumstance, the first thing that comes to my mind is, and it goes like this: I am free of fear and doubt, casting want and misery out, knowing now all good supply ever comes from realms on high. I am the hand of God's own fortune, flooding forth the treasures of light. I am now receiving full abundance to provide each need of life. And I talk my way through this, and I repeat it and I repeat it and I repeat it. And it lifts that energy, that heavy energy off. That's just one example that I use, but there are so many things that I have placed in my mind that the minute the old program tries to get a foothold, the new one clicks in. And that took practice and time.
That is a long affirmation, longer than I'm used to. The word ritual came up to me as I was hearing that. Like, what a lovely ritual to invoke every time you have those moments.
Oh, absolutely. And you can break it down. Sometimes I just say, I am free of fear and doubt, casting want and misery out. I am free of fear and doubt. I just need something small. You can chop it into little pieces. You can say the whole thing, or you can say other things. Like, you know how when you do something or you make a mistake, people immediately move into the thought, oh, I'm so dumb, I'm so stupid, I always do things wrong. When anything like that happens to me, the first thing, the old programming tries to slide in, and then the new one immediately comes online and says things like, each and every day I'm getting better, better, and better. Things like that. They can be short but pronounced and powerful, and it's the amount of energy and feeling and emotion that you put into these things is what's important. And the first few times that you do them, the old programming is going to try and overwrite the new. It's just how it is. It's science, right? And after a while, the new kicks in. Now, there are different ways to get that inside you. You can't do this from a conscious place. Our conscious minds only allows so much to get into the place where all of this actually resides, which is our subconscious mind. So ways to get this into your subconscious mind is what one now has to deal with. And I deal with that. It's about how many times am I writing this down? How many times have I said it? I record my voice. So as I'm moving through my day, I hear it. Or if I'm falling asleep, I hear it. Or I watch a video with all of this that goes through. I mean, instead of watching Netflix, take 15 minutes and watch videos, because your mind, your subconscious mind, deals in pictures.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't deal in conscious words. It deals in pictures.
It's very literal. Absolutely. Very, very literal. That's really important to do that, as well as a lot of times people say, well, meditation, and I'll hear some yeah buts, I don't have the time. But any of these things that Pamela's talking about can be done in a moment of, to me, it actually can't be done. These are like moments of meditation.
It's all meditation.
Yeah, these are moments of that type of thing. So
you could be walking and talking to yourself and listening to a pre-recording that you put together, or somebody else's guided meditation as you walk, while you're doing the dishes, while you're having a bath. This is part of how I healed myself. It's about connection to myself. We are individual systems. One of the things about hanging out in nature on the weekend is I've discovered the system of nature and how it works together to form an entity that keeps us human beings alive, as well as its own ecosystem. We are our own ecosystem. What are we doing to maintain and uplift our individual ecosystems? Are you feeding it properly? Are you hydrating it properly? Are you giving it what it needs? Do you nourish the biggest organ on your body, which happens to be your skin? Are you feeding it welcoming thoughts that it can take and create once it's come down into your system? Are you clearing away the debris that's clogging up the chakra systems? Like, for instance, a lot of women have very clogged root chakras.
Yes.
It's the beginning, it's the base. And if things are blocked at that place, the rest of it has a very difficult time functioning. So, that old axiom, know thyself. I think it was the Greek oracle said, know thyself. We truly don't know ourselves well enough. We wait to hear the doctor tell us about ourselves. The doctor could never know you.
or other people, trusted friends, things like
yeah, you're talking to your mechanic about your problem. They can't help you. They can fix your car, but they can't help you. You have to take time with you and clear away what I call the BS. And we don't want to go there because we're afraid to think about what was the last time you treated somebody terribly. We don't want to think about that, right? We have to clear away the debris that stands in our way so we can heal. We have to make sure it's like anything. When you take your vehicle in for oil change and he says, well, the filter's clogged. What do you say? Oh, don't worry about it. Just leave it in there and I'll keep going. Or do you say to him or her, please change it out and put a new one in? And why do you say that? Because you want everything to flow through the filters smoothly and properly so you can have a nice journey without worry. Yet we don't do that for ourselves. We are clogged up, bar none, and wonder why we're clunking along.
I'm going to go tangential here because we've just got about 7 minutes left. And I remember reading in your social media, and maybe this isn't fair to ask you, so just say so. You were talking about a new way of taking care of your skin that just had me totally fascinated. Can we talk about that?
Yes, when I was diagnosed in the springtime with my issue, I discovered a North American ritual called the Haman. The Haman is an oiling process for your body and your face using a blend of particular plant oils. And when I did this, I cried. Sharon, I cried because I couldn't believe I had neglected myself. It was about touch, that tactile feeling. It's like when your mother or somebody you cared about would give you those loving baths and they would dry you and help you into your pajamas. That's what it brought me back to, right?
Wow.
And the oils, they're helping to hydrate your skin. I mean, your skin is the biggest organ on your body and it absorbs things. So every night I start my process at about 7:30, takes me about 45 minutes. And some people would be aghast. Oh my gosh, 45. Well, where are you putting that 45 minutes if not on yourself, right? Give it to yourself, pay yourself, honor yourself that kind of time where you take the time to not just feed your body with these beautiful plant oils, but it's also time to talk to yourself. I put together these oils and I call them natural mojo, and I even incorporate a saying to use while you're oiling your body and a saying to use while you're oiling your face. And you're talking to yourself, you're babying yourself, you're loving yourself, you're connecting to yourself because yourself hears you.
Yeah, that's the one voice it's most familiar with.
That's right. But we give it away. We are so distracted. We give it away. And then we wonder why we're not feeling right. Come back to yourself. You know Marianne Williamson, right?
Yes.
She has her first book of hers that I ever read was called Return to Love. This is what this is. It's returning to love.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, I'm going to have to explore that some more. That sounds lovely, actually.
Oh, it's a beautiful process. I look forward. When I see 7:30, I get excited.
And I could just see for those of just on the audio, but on the video, once again, the wonderful, delightful Pamela little child popped right out there. You could just see the twinkle in her eyes. We're just down to the last 4 minutes, Pamela, and I want to make sure, any final thoughts that you want to share with everybody about all these wonderful things you've been exploring and diving into and sharing with us?
I just want people to know that there's so much to themselves that they have yet to discover. You know, there's that whole outside world and, you know, it's nice to go here and go there, but it's really about getting to oneself because we look so much for clues on the outside about our magnificence. And it's right here. Again, I will reference Marianne Williamson, who quoted about, we are not afraid of anything other than the power of ourselves. So we hide it and we ignore it and we deflect and we distract and we get sick. We have it. Connect to it. Love it. Allow it to love you. You love it. We've been commanded this for thousands of years through various writings and prophets and sages and saints, and we're not listening. Listen.
And what a wonderful time where we're all reflecting on, do we go back to the old way? And many of us are saying, no, I'm starting this new way. It seems like a really great momentous time where many people are there to support you, where perhaps before the support wasn't as visible.
Yeah, but first support yourself. Find out what key you need. It's like a combination. Everybody has a different click. What is your click? I think that's a great blog post title. What's your click?
Yeah, I look forward to reading it, Pamela.
I'm on it, Sharon.
Good. Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, I so appreciate you. Thank you for being on the show again. And I'm so excited for this reinvention. I love, I'm not sure how many reinventions I've been part of, but I just always love it because for me, it's encouraging because it answers possibilities in my own mind. I know that sounds a little strange, but I'm like, well, Pamela's doing it. I can do it.
Oh, of course. And everybody has their own thing that they want to do. And some will be the same, similar, or completely different. You can do whatever you want to do. Give yourself permission to just lean into something, lean into a new way of thinking about that, or even how you do the dishes. Lean in. It doesn't have to be the same experience all the time. There's just so much that we can uncover here today, Sharon. But it's a wonderful, wonderful conversation to have with others like yourself. You have created an amazing movement, and that's what real leadership is about. It's not about selling the thing. It's about hooking into a place where people need to reside and create community around a way of being. So thank you for doing that for people.
Oh, well, thank you, Pamela. And I wanted to share just one thought with the audience, what came to my mind too. I don't think I've shared this, maybe not in a long time anyway. One of the things that I do, and I started this probably 20 plus years ago, was every year on my birthday or thereabouts, I challenge myself to do something I haven't ever done. And some of it might be a little scary or whatever. And I remember one time that was not... well, anything but successful. How's that? I challenged myself to learn to ride a motorcycle. But the interesting thing was, after a couple of crashes, controlled crashes, because, you're with an instructor and the whole thing, and realizing that the person I was with, they graduated top of the class and I didn't even graduate. So anyway, to me, it wasn't about that I walked away with my motorcycle certificate. To me, it was like, I was terrified of a motorcycle and I got on one and I rode one. And that's what it was about. So I encourage you, beautiful community, to find something out there, to challenge yourself and go do it. Enjoy the adventure. Enjoy the adventure of it.
Absolutely.
And as Pamela loves to say, play with it. Just play
with it. Sharon, I'm going to invite your amazing listening audience to visit my website at PamelaSylvan.com, because on that front page, there is a thing called the BS Guide. It starts with us, folks. There's anything you want to create, it starts with you. It's about the energy of releasing what's standing in your way.
I'm glad you brought that up. I had just downloaded it again to reread it. Thank you so much. It's a great little mini book.
Yeah.
To encourage you to be able to play with it and take those challenges in your life. Yeah. So, Pamela, thank you for joining me, and congratulations on this latest adventure of yours. I just love following all your adventures. And everyone, go to PamelaSylvan.com. You can find out if you don't, check out understandingautoimmune.com, where all the shows are if you want to find out more about Pamela, as well as PamelaSylvan.com. And have a great week, whatever your adventures. Join me next week for another brand new episode. Enjoy.
The information provided on the Autoimmune Hour, Understanding Autoimmune, and Life Interrupted Radio, including the websites understandingautoimmune.com and lifeinterruptedradio.com, plus social media, is for educational purposes only. What you read, hear, and see on the Autoimmune Hour, Understanding Autoimmune, and Life Interrupted Radio, and its websites, and other media outlets is based on experience only. The information should never be used for any legal, diagnostic, or treatment purposes.
In the next few moments, take a nice, deep breath. And keep breathing, enjoying that breath as you kind of shake it all out. Let it go. That's right. Just shake it out. Shake everything out. That's right. Just right. That's right. Grateful for this moment right here, right now. Feeling every bit of you alive and well. Feeling healing and soothing and calming energy just tingle throughout you. Getting stronger with each breath as your gratitude begins to grow. Taking the last few minutes of our time together here right now, just to enjoy this growing gratitude list that grows with each moment, each minute, each hour, each day. That's right. And coming right back now, full of energy, happy to be here. Enjoy. That's right. And feeling grateful for every moment that you have right now. Wow, welcome back. Go in gratitude and enjoy your day. Do you want to be a better leader, have better relationships, become more self-aware, be a better communicator? Hi, I'm Sharon Sayler, best-selling author, professional speaker, and executive coach. And my life passion is empowering professionals to be the best that they can be. After years of working with professionals, I've discovered the 7 things nobody is telling you that can cost you your clients, sales, and even your career. And I want to give it to you free. You've heard my show, you know my passion, and maybe we'll be working together sooner rather than later. So go grab this ebook now to find out the 7 things that's costing you big time over at SharonSayler.com/radio gift.